All right, so for the Victorian era too, we're really just looking at poetry in this case. So we're going to look at Barrett Browning's poem Sonnet 43. And then we're going to look at Robert Browning, her husband's poem, My Last Duchess, and talk about what the statue of Neptune symbolizes. What effect does Matthew Arnold's allusion to Sophocles have on the meaning of the poem Dover Beach? And we're going to compare the differing tones of My Last Duchess and Dover Beach, and then you're going to go and find some words and use a dictionary. All right. So, how do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach, when feeling out of sight for the ends of being an ideal grace. I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need by sun and candlelight. I love thee freely as men strive for right. I love thee purely as they turn from praise. I love thee with the passion put to use in my old griefs and with my childhood's faith. I love thee with the love I seem to lose with my lost saints. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life. And if God chose, I shall but love thee better after death. So 6 of the 14 lines begin with I love thee, and it repeats for a total of like 8 times. And really, the emphasis here is to show like the depth of her love. Yeah. So just having that repetition of saying I love thee and then giving all of these different variety of examples. So we're looking at the repetition and the variety is just giving like I love you with this, I love you this much, all of these things that she's able to compare her love to just really builds on that meaning of how deep her love is. Okay. All right, My Last Duchess. I have to turn off this light. Give me 1 second. Too bright. Okay. So here we are looking for what the statue of Neptune symbolizes. Okay, so we're thinking about that. Okay. That's my last Duchess painted on the wall, looking as if she were alive. I call that piece a wonder now. Fra Pandolf's hands worked busily a day, and there she stands. Wilt you please sit and look at her? I said, Fra Pandolf by design, for never read strangers like you that pictured countenance, the depth and passion of its earnest glance, but to myself they turned, since none puts by the curtain I have drawn for you, but I, and seemed as though they would ask me, if they durst, how such a glance came there. So, not the first, are you to turn and ask thus, Sir, 'twas not her husband's presence only, called that spot of joy into the Duchess's cheek. Perhaps Frau Pandolf had chanced to say, her mantle laps over my lady's wrist too much, or paint must never hope to reproduce the faint half-flush that dies along her throat. Such stuff was courtesy, she thought, and cause enough for calling up to that spot of joy. She had a heart, how shall I say, too soon made glad, too easily impressed. She liked whatever she looked on, and her looks went everywhere. Sir, 'twas all one. My favor at her breast, the dropping of the daylight in the west, the bow of cherries some officious fool broke in the orchard for her, the white mule she rode with round the terrace, and all each would draw from her alike the approving speech, or blush at least. She thanked men, good, but thanked somehow, I know not how, as if she ranked my gift of a 900 years old name with anybody's gift. Who'd stoop to blame this sort of trifling? Even had you skill in speech, which I have not, to make your will quite clear to such an one, and say, just this or that in you disgusts me. Here you miss, or there exceed the mark. And if she let herself be lessoned so, nor plainly set her wits to yours, forsooth, and made excuse, even then would some would be some stooping, and I choose never to stoop. Oh, sir, she smiled, no doubt, whenever I passed her, but who passed without much the same smile? This grew, I gave commands, then all smiles stopped together. There she stands as if alive. Will't please you rise? We'll meet the company below, then. I repeat, the count your master's known munificence is ample warrant that no such pretence of mine for dowry will be disallowed, though his fair daughter's self, as I avowed, at staring is my object. Nay, we'll go together, sir. Notice Neptune, though, taming a sea-horse, thought a rarity, which Claus of Innsbruck cast in bronze for me. All right. So, Neptune is the god of the sea in Roman mythology. So what does bringing this up? So you sort of get, hopefully you see, he wants to have this control over his wife. We gather that she's dead, and near the end you might understand that maybe he killed her. He's basically saying that, like, she flirts with all of these men around and I don't like it and I want to keep her in captivity. And so he's just trying to, like, rein her in, tame her. And the only way that she can be that person that he wants is as this painting, as if she were alive still on the wall. So by talking about Neptune, it's this idea of Neptune reining in or taming a seahorse. It's not a common thing, but that's basically like what he is saying. So he is bringing it as he is himself, Neptune. It is his wife is this painting is the idea of complete submission, and so that's what this is showing, that the god of the sea has complete control over the creatures of the ocean. Okay. And the last one to read over, we're going to look at the effect that the allusion to Sophocles has on the meaning of Dover Beach. The sea is calm tonight, the tide is full, the moon lies fair upon the straits. On the French coast, the light gleams and is gone. The cliffs of England stand, glimmering and vast, out in the tranquil bay. Come to the window, sweet as the night air. Only, from the long line of spray where the sea meets the moon-blanched land, listen. You hear the grating roar of pebbles, which the waves draw back and fling, at their return, up the high strand, begin and cease, and then again begin, with tremulous cadence slow, and bring the eternal note of sadness in. Sophocles, a Greek tragic dramatist, long ago heard it on the Aegean, and it brought into his mind the turbid ebb and flow of human misery. We find also in the sound a thought, hearing it by this distant northern sea. The sea of faith was once too at the full, and round earth's shore lay like the folds of a bright girdle furled, but now I only hear its melancholy, long withdrawing roar, retreating to the breath of the night wind, down the vast edges drear and naked shingles of the world. Ah, love, let us be true to one another, for the world which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams, so various, so beautiful, so new, hath really neither joy nor love nor light nor solitude nor peace nor help for pain. And we are here as on darkling plain, swept with confused alarms of the struggle and flight, where ignorant armies clash by night. Okay, so this one's really just about, like, how rough life is. And so by mentioning Sophocles, who wrote tragic plays, so tragic dramatist means he wrote tragic plays, it really enhances the melancholiness of the tone of the play or of the poem, and just bringing the idea of sorrow and helplessness and emphasizing that more deeply. Then if you compare the tone of Dover Beach, make sure I got the right one here. Okay, so yeah, the differing tones of My Lost Duchess and Dover Beach. What's the difference of the tone? So the Duke is, like, amused by his actions, his choices to paint his wife, ultimately, really to kill her. She's dead, and he's arrogant about it. But in Dover Beach, it's more sad. There's melancholy in the tone about the tragedies of life, and he's not giving that, like, that feeling that he's happy about anything. And then there's also a difference in the rhyme scheme. Um, you know, Dover Beach is in free verse, where you do get a lot of rhyming, especially in couplets in the Last Duchess, my last manuscripts. And then, yeah, you'll just need to look through these and find some words and complete this activity. So that finishes up the Victorian era 2 tutorial for Unit 7.